Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So for Peacekeeper Hero Fest, I thought it'd be a really good idea to make kind of like a PK for dummies, like a really good intro video for anyone looking to get into the hero. I know I've made a few videos across my channel about like what's the best feats for her, but I thought it'd be great to kind of condense everything into one vid and then give a few tips too. So if you enjoy the video, I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed and all that. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, now let's go ahead and get into the basics of PK. So she's an assassin with 120 HP and 120 stamina. She has some pretty good feats. I'll go ahead and show you guys what I like to run. Usually it's Bounty Hunter, Thick Skin, Crossbow, and Last Laugh. But here, I'll go and show you everything she has. So for her first feat, there's Bounty Hunter, where you gain health and stamina when you kill another hero. Stealth, which means you're completely hidden from the HUD. And I will say, this can be super good if you want to deny as many feats hitting you and probably keep your health hidden, stuff like that. I just think Bounty Hunter has better survivability. And then a Conqueror, where you capture control zones faster and picked up boosts last longer. I think the only time this would be viable is in Breach. Even then, Bounty Hunter is just a significantly better feat. For her second feat, we have Thick Skin, where you gain moderate damage reduction every 3 seconds. I would need to run numbers on this, but I feel like it is extremely good for her. I do notice it. The most notable thing is surviving Sohei one-shot. I've done that a few times with Thick Skin, and I think it's in general just a very good feat that deserves more recognition. She also has Fiat Lux, where you throw a grenade that blinds enemies. It has the white effect on your screen. And it does do a little bit of damage, not much. The biggest thing is it also drains stamina. So that can delay team fights, things like that. And then she has Executioner's Respite. When executing an enemy hero, you gain an extra amount of health based on the execution's duration. I think this is just a little bit better of a Devourer, which is a gear perk that we'll go into later. In my opinion, Thick Skin is going to be the best one here. So for her third feat, this is where you can mix things up a little bit. I like Crossbow because it immediately applies bleed and gives you a little bit of pressure. However, there's also Pugno Mortis, where you throw an explosive that deals moderate damage in a big area. Very good for minion clearing. You also get access to it a lot earlier than some heroes when they have their bomb feats. This can also, I believe it does about 40-45 damage. So you can do a good bit of damage in team fight. Finally, there's Sharpen Blade, where all of your attacks apply bleed. Obviously, for Peacekeeper, who's a bleed-based hero, it is very good. But in my opinion, Crossbow, it has a very low cooldown, I think about 60 seconds. So that's what I like to run. Finally, for her fourth feat, I love Last Laugh. Basically, when you die, you drop a high damage grenade, and it does, I think in the very center, about 150 damage. It is super strong, and if you're getting ganked, for example, you can easily kill 4 people at the same time. She also has Catapult, where you call a Catapult Strike to deal massive damage in an area. This is very good if you want to control minion lane, just like her third feat, Pugno Mortis. And then finally, she has Fear itself, where everyone around her takes more damage. I will say Sharpen Blade and Fear itself together is a very strong combo. I would say if you want to run Fear, run Sharpen with it. You will simply melt everyone in an area. However, I think the best setup is Bounty Hunter, Thick Skin, Crossbow, and Last Laugh. Now, looking at Peacekeeper's perks, she is an assassin offensive-based hero, so she's going to have every single offense perk. There's Galestorm. Upon hero kill, you gain 20% movement speed for 10 seconds. Devourer. Upon execution, you'll heal an additional 10 health. Early Reaper. Upon spawn or when revived, your first attack deals 30% more damage. Endurance, where when gaining a renown level, so every time you level up with renown, like to get another feat, you'll receive 3% stamina cost reduction with for a maximum of 4. So at your fourth feat, you will get 12% stamina cost reduction on every single attack. Survival Instinct, where in critical health, you'll get 25% stamina cost reduction. Crush Them. Upon hero kill, your next attack deals 30% more damage. And Headhunter. For each unique player/bot hero executed, for example, I believe this works with officers in Breach, you'll increase your max health by 4 with a maximum of 4 increases. So if you get 4 executions, you'll get 16 extra HP. I believe Devour, Endurance, Headhunter, I like to call this buff PK, where you are going to get as much stamina cost reduction and health as possible. Obviously, we're prioritizing health here. I will say Crush Them is very good if you're running a bomb feat setup because you get a hero kill and then you'll get 30% damage applied right after that. So I think that's very strong. Also, Gale Storm is really fun when you kill someone. You can just run around super fast. But I think overall, the stuff I have with Devourer, Endurance, Headhunter is very good. You will have access to all of these at Rep 8 on Peacekeeper, which is her teal gear as seen on screen. Now, before we get into my favorite moves with PK and how you can utilize her effectively, let's go ahead and talk about her moveset. So, Peacekeeper has a light, heavy mix-up, light, heavy, double heavy. These are her basic moves. However, there's some things to note here. Whenever Peacekeeper applies bleed to an opponent, so you can do that through guard break, dagger cancel, deflect, and landing a heavy with your follow-up bleed. She then gets extra bonuses and properties. So for example, after you land a light attack on someone who is applied with bleed, that is enhanced. Basically, it won't be interrupted on block or chip damage against bleeding opponents. Additionally, all of her final finisher heavies become unblockable. Also, the second hit of her zone becomes unblockable as well. I'll go ahead and show this in game real quick against a Peacekeeper bot. Okay, let me show y'all exactly how this works. So as you'll see, I'm gonna apply some bleed to the bot. And then if you look, after I attack their block, I can still keep throwing attacks. This is what it means when an attack is enhanced. There are some heroes, whenever you hit them while they're blocking, you'll simply bounce off. As you can see, it does that here now that they have no bleed. So again, I can keep attacking when there's bleed, and I will let it run out. And then now that there's no bleed, I'll simply bounce off. This also works with unblockables. So you can attack in the direction and then throw a heavy. And as you can see, that becomes unblockable due to the bleed on the Peacekeeper bot. All right, now we'll go ahead and I'll show you some of my favorite moves. Obviously, Peacekeeper, she's more of a duelist. You'll find the most success in duels. If you look at some comp players' tier lists and stuff like that, I believe she usually rests around the top of A tier in a lot of these. Dominion, she does play a little bit worse because she doesn't have that much gank pressure. However, she does have some externals that are pretty good if you get a lot of people bleeding. So let me show you exactly how to fight her. So we'll go ahead and apply bleed, and I'll show you guys my favorite mix-ups. One of them is, I've heard some people call this the Wextra, literally. It's probably my favorite move with her. So what you do is you can go from zone and dodge forward heavy. This move specifically is called a dashing thrust. As you can see, it is very fast. Just for our sake, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure the opponent just has their health off. In training, by the way, this is super good to set up. You can simply turn off your opponent's health if you're trying to practice against a bot. I also have them set up not to attack. You can do that in the opponent's settings, custom moveset, and then you just don't check anything. Also, hold position, very useful. So here we go. As you can see, the bot's not attacking me. I'm just throwing stuff at it. That is the dashing thrust move. So from a heavy startup, you can dodge and go into it like this. You can also go from a zone dashing thrust forward. And I think it is just a really quick and kind of unpredictable move that a lot of people don't expect. Usually people either throw the heavy or they, if you do it enough, by the way, people usually will fall for the bait. You could just throw raw heavies at people. I've thrown multiple chain raw heavies with literally no bleed, and it just makes people's brains break. Also, I know a lot of people do like to throw the follow-up bleed on a heavy. That is a very good move to use at the beginning of a fight if you want to just go ahead and get that bleed pressure locked in. However, there are some more things you can do here. When you throw this heavy and it lands, you're staying in your mix. You're staying in frame. Basically, once you apply this, the follow-up bleed, you don't really have an advantage anymore. You're back to neutral. You have to keep throwing attacks and get back in a mix. What you can do is you can chain to another heavy like that. Instead, see, applying the bleed works, but you can also chain to another heavy. You can dodge forward. You can now go for a guard break and do things like that. I feel like after throwing this heavy, a raw heavy, for example, making it land. Now, by the way, one thing to note here, this experience is going to differ depending on what type of lobbies you're in. So at a low and or a high level, this works with varying success. People might just parry every single raw heavy, which that's just weird. Or, you know, they'll actually eat it. So you just kind of have to see what your opponent is doing and adapt. And thankfully, Peacekeeper is one of those heroes that can adapt very well. So You can undo a lot of this, just showing different mix-ups. Also remember, from every single heavy, you can get that dagger cancel bleed, which that move is completely unreactable for dagger cancel. If someone tells you they can react to it, they're lying. So that is a super good tip right there. Another thing to note, her follow-up lights are unreactable. They're extremely quick. As you can see, it's fast. And it's very useful when you have bleed applied. And you can go ahead and, I forgot I don't have the bot health on, hang on. Her follow-up lights that are unreactable are very useful when you have an opponent bleeding. Because as you can see, if the bot wouldn't be blocking me here, someone would probably swap their guard or be ready for a heavy to come out, and you could simply throw attacks into them, like this. And if they move that guard, then they take a little bit of follow-up light damage. Also, we do need to talk about her deflect real quick. I'm playing into bot, so I won't be able to get them to do the chain like I want to. But with her deflect, it does not break hyper armor. That's very important. However, she has a faster recovery than average off of a deflect into a guard break. For example, let's say you're fighting Black Prior, right? And you know this guy's gonna throw a double light. If you deflect both of the lights, so deflect the first and then you deflect the chain light finisher, you can actually go into a guard break and get a punish on Peacekeeper. For those who have played Peacekeeper before or seen her, you know this punish right here. The triple stab does a lot of damage. Typically in a fight, off of one guard break, you can keep enough pressure up where you won't even have to worry about bleed. That's what I usually do, is I use this startup guard break and the damage applied to apply pressure over the duration of the fight, which means I have access to my enhanced lights and my unblockables for as long as I want. And that can really mess with people's head if you know how to chain your attacks properly and do all kinds of crazy stuff with them. And you know, you can also go into dagger cancel and apply more bleed, get another deflect, do all of that. So I will say, always go for her deflect in fights when you want to get access to that bleed pressure quick and against people you know do not have hyper armor. If they are going to throw that hyper armor, your best bet is to go ahead and not throw your deflect, just use it and be like, okay, they're not going to hit you now. You're not going to take that damage. W, get rid of the attack. Never happens. Or you can bait them into throwing the hyper armor and get a second deflect as long as they don't have another hyper armor chain. There's also a third option. If you know that is a finisher, right? It's not unblockable, so you're not gonna obviously try to deflect an unblockable. Don't do it. If you know it is a finisher in their move, go ahead, get the deflect, go into a guard break. You will get the guard break off, and that will be a massive punish that you'll most likely win the round. I mean, if you lose after that, unfortunately, that may be a skill issue, but that is like one of Peacekeeper's hidden tips that is super good. Also, finally, to wrap things up, let's go ahead and talk about her Wallsplat Punish. If you're near a wall, as you can see, this Peacekeeper bot is, you guard break, 2 stabs, kick them back, and get a dodge forward heavy. Now, if you do have enough range for this, there is an additional punish where you guard break them, you throw them back, and you can get like, it's a weird like heavy from the side. And here's the thing with max punishes, right? I'm probably gonna get some heat for this, but even as a rep 90 Peacekeeper with an ungodly amount of time in the game, I go for the guaranteed punish every single time. If you play Peacekeeper enough, you can kind of approximate, okay, I think this is the right range for me to get a Wallsplat Punish. I like to play it safe when I'm in fights. I usually just go play it simple, get the right punish, and you can also be silly, do something like this. Up to you. I just like to go for what I know is guaranteed. If you memorize it where you know, okay, I can back throw and I can get a free heavy off a Wallsplat, good for you. Lock in, twin. Me, however, I just like to go ahead and do something consistently. That's the biggest thing with For Honor. I feel like the way I play is I like to go with consistency. So I like to go for consistent punishes. I do, if you watch some of my videos, I do a lot of the same moves repeatedly. However, what's funny is it just works. A lot of people VOD review me and that's how they figure out like how to beat my PK, which is good advice. If you're going against someone who is a content creator, you can just watch their videos and like see how they fight. I might do that sometimes. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here. Basically, the point is, there are 2 Wallsplat Punishes for her. I think this one is more beneficial because you just get a ton of bleed, and it's more consistent, especially for a newer player coming into PK. So that's the main Wallsplat Punish you want to worry about. And now finally, let's do PK's out of stamina punish. Now we're gonna be listening to the other PK make some interesting noises for this. Basically, you GB twice, flip back, dodge forward heavy, and do a full top heavy with the follow-up lead. And this does a ton of damage. As you can see, I basically took off like half of her health bar in that one throw punish. You remember, you can only do this to people when they are out of stamina and you either get a knockdown or you guard break them, double kidney stab, and then throw them. It's a very good punish if you catch someone out of stamina. You do have to get into the actual, like, you know, guard break to do this. But if you think someone's just trying to light parry you out of stamina in aura farm, let me show you something. Throw the heavies. My best advice to new Peacekeepers, just throw your heavies. Y'all will be shocked how many unblockable heavies land just because people don't expect you to throw them. And if someone just starts parrying every single one of your blockable heavies, cool, feint everything. Make their brain hurt. All right, well, that's my Peacekeeper guide for dummies. If you want any drip tutorials, I have plenty of PK drip posted on my channel. And if you have any more questions about PK or there's something I didn't cover in this video you wish I did, feel free to drop a message in the comments. I am going to be looking at every single one of them to make sure y'all play PK effectively and make me proud during PK Hero Fest. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and take some kidneys for me, Pookie. I'll see you around.